Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Mind Over Matter with Sankit. In this episode, we'll be talking about how fasting affects spirituality. So many people who practice spirituality, they are driven towards fasting. They believe that if they skip eating food for some time, it will help in their spiritual practice. Now this is partly true because when you do not eat, your body does not really have much to digest, so it requires a lot less energy for you. Now this might sound counterintuitive, but then not eating also saves energy for you in some ways. However, when someone is fasting, there are several things that one needs to take into consideration. For instance, if you're fasting, you still need to make sure that you consume a lot of water. Now, fasting where even water is not allowed, I do not think that is particularly helpful, because I think that can in fact have a negative effect. When you starve yourself of food plus the water, you will feel very weak throughout the day, and I do not really see a point in doing that. That could be possible for very high level practitioners, but then as for beginners, I do not recommend that at all, and I do not even see the value in it. So even if you decide that you do a full 24-hour food fast, it is very important that you consume a lot of water. Now this has a benefit. This is known as water fasting, and water fasting has its benefits because you clear out all the toxins in your body, all the food that you might have had previously, all the food that was not healthy for your body also gets flushed out of your system. However, you need to make sure that you get a lot of water throughout the day, because water will be the only thing that will keep you awake and alert throughout the day. Now, even with fasting, there are different types of fasting. There's intermittent fasting, which has been really popular recently, which requires you to fast for about 16 hours, and during the other 8 hours you're allowed to consume food multiple times. It's been found that intermittent fasting has a lot of benefits, but there are also some misconceptions related to this. So the first and foremost thing about this type of fasting is that basically, in order to understand it in simple terms, you can take it as just skipping your breakfast and directly having your lunch, and also having your dinner a little sooner, that is somewhere around 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and not eating anything towards the later part of the night, and also not having anything for some hours after waking up. Now, if you can do this properly, if your body responds properly, if your body responds well when you do this, it's recommended that you do it. But then if you feel like you have a lot of acid reflux when you do not have food, this will certainly be common when you first start doing this intermittent fasting. So you should set a trial period for yourself. Just try it out for about 7 days and see if it works for you or not. So when it comes to food and exercise, it isn't really necessary for you to listen to everyone else. You're supposed to listen to your own body, because your own body is your greatest teacher. It will exactly tell you what it likes and what it doesn't. So you can try this out. But then the problem that many people face when they try out intermittent fasting is that during the 16-hour time frame, they do not consume food, but they continuously think about food. They continuously want to have a lot of food, but then they do not, because that's the rule. 16 hours you do not eat anything. But then the bad thing that happens is that during the 8 hours in which they're allowed to consume food, they consume a lot of it, which you've heard of the term binge eating, that is eating a lot. And the sad part is that when one eats unhealthy food, when one just devours everything one gets and just eats a lot in this time frame, this is in fact very harmful, and it might beat the whole purpose of doing the intermittent fasting. So hence it's very important that you maintain a balance. Hence it's very important that you know what exactly works for you and what doesn't. So rather than doing that, you could somehow reduce the time window. That is, rather than fasting for 16 hours, you could do somewhere around 14 hours. And if that also doesn't work for you, you could fast for 8 hours. So it's very important that you start small if you cannot go big directly, because if you try to achieve big goals immediately, you're more likely to feel demotivated. You're more likely to leave this practice. Rather than that, it's recommended that you start small and you make continuous progress. So the progress is supposed to be very slow and eventual. It needs to be progressive. You cannot expect to get the benefits overnight. So the most important message that you can take from this video is that you need to listen to your own body. You can always give practices a fair share of your time. You can always try out different practices of fasting and exercises, but then at the end of the day you need to listen to your body. For instance, I personally also practiced fasting for some time, but I realized that if I have to travel throughout the day, if I have to travel in public vehicles where there is a lot of shock, meaning that riding in public vehicles is not a smooth journey. So when this happens and when I am fasting, I've realized that I feel even worse because I get very nauseous when I do not consume anything. Instead, if I have something light, I've realized that I feel a lot more stable. So this was my personal story. This does not necessarily apply to anyone else, but then for me, I realized that fasting might not exactly be meant for me because I felt worse when I fasted if I had to travel a lot. So I make sure that if I have to travel, I consume at least something, even if I do not really want to eat a lot. So finding this right balance is utterly important. When it comes to spiritual awakening and fasting, it is very true that fasting helps us focus because we become a lot more alert and a lot less lethargic. We're a lot less likely to feel lazy when we do not consume a lot of food, and this does help us with focus when meditating. It's true, but then just letting go of food completely might not be the right option because you might in fact feel tired when you have no energy at all. So instead of meditating, you might easily fall asleep and you might feel weak throughout the day. Hence, it's better to go easy on yourself and just take it one step at a time. You do not need to have a complete fast if you want better alertness in your meditation sessions. All you need to do is just consume a little less food than you generally consume. So that is the right way to do it, rather than having a stark difference in your food schedule, rather than completely changing your food schedule altogether. It's recommended that you slowly decrease your food. This is the same case with anyone who's looking forward to gaining mass, because when you want to gain mass, it's recommended that you slowly increase the consumption of food. If you try having too much of food at once, you'll face the negative consequences. You'll actually beat the purpose of consuming a lot of food because you'll in fact have problems like diarrhea, which will in fact cause loss of weight. Hence it's important that you do it very progressively. Hence it's important that you listen to your body whenever you're trying to make a significant change. If you like this video, do not forget to press the like button. Also, if you like whatever is happening here at Sound Health Solution, do not forget to subscribe to our channel. We've almost reached 10,000 subscribers now, and we have a lot of surprises in store for you. Do not miss any of them. Make sure that you stay in tune. Until next time.